Are you looking to start your own business this year? Perhaps you are, but you're being held back by all the claims you've heard that most small businesses fail. In this video, we're going to be discussing the top 3 reasons why most small businesses fail in their first few years of business and what you can do to avoid that outcome. For those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Pam Matani. I'm the principal lawyer and founder here at Graphene Business Law, where our slogan is all business all the time. We're a virtual law firm offering services to business owners and entrepreneurs virtually and across Ontario. If you're new to our YouTube channel, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up and click on the subscribe button down below. We put a lot of effort into these videos here at Graphene, and we post multiple times a week free educational content here on our YouTube channel. When it comes to starting a small business, there is no shortage of fears and worries and concerns going through a business owner's mind. And it is true that most small businesses fail in their first, for sure, 10 years of business, but even earlier than that. I'm looking down here at the statistics. 20% of new businesses fail during their first year of business, 45% of small businesses fail during their first 5 years of business, and 65% of small businesses will have failed by the 10th year of business. That is an overwhelming majority of small businesses that actually do end up failing. Now, as a lawyer and as a business lawyer that has seen all ends of the spectrum, both really successful businesses, so-so businesses that are struggling to get by but making it by, and businesses that are, destined to failure, so to speak, I wanted to take the time in this video to discuss what is driving these failures, okay? First of all, I want to stop for a second and pause and reflect on how the average business owner is just that. It's an average human being that is starting their own business. When we're talking about the average human being, and I'm not trying to be controversial here, but questions come to mind as to how well educated is the average human being? How accomplished are they? How financially savvy are they? How experienced are they when it comes to, hey, you're trying to open a business? How experienced are they when it comes to running a business? Unfortunately, it's just the rule of averages, if you will. It's a mathematical truth that the average business person, business owner that has just started their business is not going to be, again, not trying to be controversial, but the average person just starting their own business is not going to be the smartest person on earth, is not going to be the most accomplished person on earth, is not going to be the most business savvy person on earth. Because if that was the average business person would be a multimillionaire, no questions asked, right? And the law of averages is that most are going to struggle, some will make it, and some will fail. Right? And, business ownership comes with those facts and realities as well. So I say that first bit of this video actually to add value to you as a viewer, because as I'm listing out those factors of what the average business person doesn't have, it's one thing to watch this video sort of as a story and, me as a lawyer sitting here and talking and the minutes going by, but it's another thing if you're watching this video and pausing and reflecting, if the average person isn't that well educated, for example, if the average person is not that accomplished, is not that savvy in business, where do you stand as regards that average person? And what can you do to better your odds? Be better than average. And there's a chance your business will fare better than the average small business, which, as we've just discussed, is almost guaranteed to fail by year 10 of practice. Okay? So with that in mind, what are the 3 primary drivers behind why so many small businesses are failing? Okay? And what do I, as a business lawyer, think about them? The first thing we're looking at is poor cash flow management. And as I was researching, the points or the way to verbalize this first point, I came across so many articles that talked about poor capital, poor access to capital, lack of funding, this and that. And I'm thinking, how disappointing is that to put in front of somebody that's struggling with their business? Because it feeds this misconception that you need a certain amount of capital to be successful in business. And if that's the truth, so long as you don't have that capital, you will always have something easy to point to and say, I failed, but it wasn't my fault. I didn't have X amount of capital. That capital has so little to do with operating a successful business in today's times. And what do I mean by that? Of course you need the money, and of course at the end of the day you're in business for the money. However, if you've tuned into any season of Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or these shows, you see successful entrepreneurs come on there all the time that are creating and launching successful businesses with less and less money. You see businesses created with $50, a $200 loan from friends and family, $1,000, okay? So when I'm reading these articles and I was trying to put together this list of 3, and so many of the articles are saying no access to funding. Well, what do you need the funding for, right? Like, what business are you in, and what funding do you how much do you need, and what do you need it for? Because it might be that you're in a kind of business where you actually don't need any money up front to start, or you need very little money, or the money you get, you could do business drops, and your customers are buying in advance, and you can use their money to fund your business. There are so many ways to come across capital, but also there's so many reasons why you might not even need that much capital to have an efficient business. So that's why the first point that I discussed, I worded it as poor cash management, poor money management. It's not, I'm sure we've all heard this saying, it's not so much about how much money you have, but how you use that money, okay? I'm going to say something, and no, I'm not just saying it because I'm a lawyer, because prior to being a lawyer, I was a business owner myself, and I followed the same advice, the same pattern. There are so many people that are going to come your way to sell you services when you're just starting business, and who do you really need? In my opinion, and you can say, oh, she's a lawyer, so that's why she's saying that. In my opinion, as a successful business owner, the one, service you can't do without when you start your business is legal services. Why? You need to you need to have clear structures in place that protect you from the liabilities of the business. You can sell your first unit of something, and if it harms somebody in some kind of way, or if it causes some sort of damage, you can personally be sued for everything you have, pushed into bankruptcy, and have your financial life ruined, and as a result of that, have your actual life ruined if you don't take the requisite steps to speak with a lawyer, retain those legal services, and set up your business in a legally adherent way. What other professionals do we see when starting a business? There's a lot of talk about advertising agencies, marketing agencies, photographers, accountants. Well, hold up a minute, okay? First of all, to go to an accountant, I'll take them one by one. If you haven't made much money, what is the accountant, tax bill is the accountant going to help you? I won't say evade for obvious reasons, although I've just said it, but what tax bill is an accountant going to help you, creatively work with? You haven't made any money. If you are dumping all of your money into advertising, well then, do you have the inventory to back it up? What happens if the ads don't work? What's your actual backup strategy to sell your product? Because there's no advertising agency on earth that will guarantee you results. If there was, we'd all be with them. When it comes to marketing, what are you trying to market? What help are you trying to get from somebody in marketing your product that you can't do yourself as the creator, as the, provider of that good or service, right? You're going to know best of all how to put a little blurb together as regards to what your product or service does. You're going to know best of all what the best angles of your product are, or what the best value out of that product is. When it comes to things like photography and things like that, it's okay to take an okay photo of an amazing good or service that you're offering, okay? But it's not okay to hollow out your bank account to take some fancy photos of something that you're going to do what with? What? If nobody can find your business, who cares about the fancy photos? And that, fancy photo analogy relates to all of these other professionals. I'm not saying you don't need them, but you don't need to empty your business account, on the first, month or even year of business into these professionals. Work with the lawyers, set your business up right, and then do whatever you can to bring money through the door. And once you've brought the money through the door, then you can retain more and more professionals to help you have a more polished photo, to help you, save more and more of those taxes. If you've sold $5 in your first month, who cares about what the tax savings are going to be and what an accountant can do for you? And guess what? They're going to charge by the hour, they're going to take their time, and this and that. So it feels like everybody's trying to drain you in your first year of business. And they do that because they feast on your desperation. Don't set yourself up in a way where you will inherently force yourself into being desperate for help. And the only way you get that help in today's world, you pay for it, okay? So be very careful with what you're paying for. And ask yourself, how much of what you're paying for can you genuinely not do yourself? You can't watch a YouTube video like you're watching this one for, business growth and building. You can't watch a YouTube video on how to do your own, debits and credits. You can't watch a YouTube video on what are some 5 tips to take the best photo possible of your product. You can't watch a YouTube video as to how to throw a couple dollars into Google Ads, or how to go into the local businesses in your neighborhood and tell them what you do and what you're here for, and that you'd like to collaborate and put your word out. You can do all of those things, okay? Unless you have a Juris Doctor, maybe the one thing you can't do yourself is the legal services, which is why I said, and I truly, genuinely mean it, if I wasn't a lawyer, I'd be saying the same thing. Set things up properly, legally, for liability purposes, okay? The second thing I saw, and this one totally I agree with. The first point I said, was very contentious for me because I felt it put out unfair information as to, woe is me when it comes to you not having as much money as you feel you need, etc. But the second point is poor management, okay? And if it's you that's starting your business, that manager is finger pointing at you. Now, remember how at the beginning of this video I said something that, hopefully it doesn't come across as offensive, but the average person is just that, is average, okay? When it comes to managing your business, where do you stand as pertains to the averages that you see around you? You see the average person and what they struggle with. You see that the average person might not know too much about how to run a business. They might not have any ideas to contracts. They might be struggling with genuine logistics of how to operate a business. What have you done and how have you invested in yourself to not be that average business owner who is going to be destined for failure? How have you invested in yourself? So that's something, it's so we can look at the stories, at all of these patterns and point to how poor a manager, business owner was at managing their own business. But how about knowing these patterns, having watched a video like this, you start looking inward and, looking at what will make you a great manager when you know that the average business owner is not a good manager. I know as a lawyer from helping so many clients, so many clients come my way because they have a great creative idea. They've got a special way to cut hair, a special pasta sauce, a special way to polish off cars, even certain, high-tech things that so many clients do. But when it comes to the logistics, the operations of the business, they're not there. And that's okay. You don't need to be there on everything. You don't. That's why we, outsource services, right? That's okay. That's how this economy works. This is not like a blaming and shaming point to the video, but it's, if you want to get back to reality, if the average business owner is failing because they're not that good a manager, what are you doing to be a good manager? How have you invested in yourself? What courses have you taken? What successful businesses in your neighborhood have you knocked on their doors and asked them what's been working really well for them? What have you done? Okay? So that's the second reason. Most businesses fail, most small businesses fail, and some of my insights on what you can do about that. The third reason is a poor business model. This one kind of shoots you in the foot before you start as well, and being cognizant of that pattern, you can do something about it. What does poor business model mean? Again, I use the Shark Tank and Dragon's Den examples, and I'll use it again. You see some of these businesses going on these shows sometimes, and you see a passion-driven business whereby the entrepreneur feels so strongly about what they're doing that they have totally become removed from the dollars and cents of running a business. just like we discussed earlier in this video. And you'll see these business models where for every unit sold, they're donating a unit. For every $5 product sold, they're donating $2.50. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you're not, and because there's emotions involved for people, right? I want to help. I'm emotional about helping. Okay, but the better you do financially today and the more you get your act together, the more people you'll be able to help 5 and 10 years from now when none of your other colleagues are still in business. Okay, another factor that could contribute to a poor business model is a business model whereby nobody actually needs what you're selling or what you're doing. Okay, and again, point 3 might be the most emotional of the points, because there is such a tunnel that comes with finding that idea that you think is going to strike gold for you or strike oil for you, and it's so hard to see the mistakes of our ways when we're in the thick of it. But what objective, field research have you done as to who wants your product? And I'm not talking about mom and dad buying it, and I'm not talking about the neighbor next door, the felt force, or the colleagues. God, if you ask your colleagues that, can't run from you because they're next to you in that cubicle. Like, I'm not talking about those people liking your thing and telling you it's a great idea. I'm talking about how are you doing with complete strangers? What volume of strangers is coming your way? Because that's going to be a pretty good telltale sign as to your business model and how successful it is and how it's converting. And sometimes the danger with point number 3 is that even if you have a really good idea, like I mentioned, you can have a poor business model for a few reasons that we've discussed, right? One is just genuinely having a product or a service that's far too niche, so you're never going to hit the numbers you need to. But another reason, that we mentioned earlier with point number 3 is if you have a really good product or service, but then what you're doing once that sale comes to the door, you're giving so much away, or your margins are just terrible, right? Like, look at those numbers and look at objectively, where can this lead a year from now, 5 years from now? Cut the fat of your business model, because there's a lot of it, okay? I'll stop the video there, or I'll, start wrapping up the video there. The point of this video that I hope comes across very clearly, big picture, is that when we look to these articles of why businesses are failing, the word failure is inherently negative, right? So we're only going to see negative reasons. No business is going to fail because it was just so lovely, okay? The businesses are failing for the 3 reasons we mentioned here, which is poor cash flow management, poor corporate management, and a terrible business model, okay? And when you are looking at those, reading them line by line, they're negative words, but learning about these failures is a positive act, okay? And learning to reflect inwards about how you can avoid these failures is a positive, meaningful, valuable process and journey to go on, okay? Because it's going to make you that much more likely to avoid all of the negatives, which is a positive when the negative is literal, complete, and utter failure of your business, okay? If you are in Ontario and you're seeking help, of course, with launching or growing your business, but also with concluding your business, sometimes it's too late, and that's a fact. That's a fact of life. It could be too late for this venture. I want to be very clear. It doesn't mean it's too late for other ventures, but if you need help concluding the current venture you're on, in addition to launching and growing it, here at Graphene Business Law, like I said at the beginning, it's all business all the time. We can certainly help you with that. Our website is graphenebusinesslaw.ca. Our email is info@graphenebusinesslaw.ca. And I wish you all the best with your business. Just because so many businesses fail doesn't mean it has to be that way for you, but you better be realistic with yourself about the learning you have to embark on, and how serious, the consistency of that learning has to be. You can do it, okay? Thank you for watching.